I thought setting boundaries with my family would be easy. I thought it would create safety and peace and comfort. Instead, I lost my entire family, every single one of them. And I dang near lost one of my kids too. I'm not here to beat all that to death. I've already done that. There's a lot of boo-hooing out there and whining about how hard family estrangement and parental alienation are. Believe me, I get it. I've lived it. I've done it. They are hard beyond description and they hurt like a bear. But instead of moaning about it, I want to do something that no one else seems to be doing. I want to talk about what I've gained from the lessons that I've learned the very hard way and why those lessons matter more than I ever could have imagined. I've been estranged from people I never imagined I would lose, and from people I wouldn't have chosen to lose. This video isn't about blame, it's about truth and healing and ownership. And I'm going to share 5 lessons I've learned the very hard way from the school of hard knocks that have changed everything about me. The first lesson is that some breaks are permanent. I didn't cut anyone off. I didn't go no contact. I didn't stomp out in a huff. I never intended to become estranged from anyone. All I did was set boundaries that were necessary to protect my peace, my sanity, and the safety of my family. I also assumed I was dealing with reasonable people and that they would listen, they would understand, they would want to work with me to find solutions because they would want us there. But that's not what happened. Their choices and their responses to those boundaries that I set changed everything. And that's when the blinders came off. I could finally see things as they really are. What I've learned is that when relationships deteriorate to the point of estrangement, it's not a minor thing. All the fluffy stuff has already been tried and it's already failed. And when the issues go unresolved for too long, someone is inevitably going to hit their breaking point, to the point where they're done. Not angry, not vengeful, not hateful, just done. And there's no going back from that. If repairs can or ever will be made, the relationship will have to be rebuilt from the ground up, starting with reestablishing trust. Because once that has been broken, it is not easily repaired. It can be, but it's not easy to do, and it takes a lot of effort from both sides. And I'll be honest, if one or both sides isn't willing to put in the work to make that happen, it's not going to happen. Realizing that and also accepting that is what allowed me to stop chasing it. It allowed me to stop chasing them and trying to fix everything, to change it. They showed me who they are, and it was up to me to believe them, even if I didn't want to. Hard lesson number 2 is that the real problem wasn't the contention point. It wasn't what the endless boundary violations and arguments were all about. Turns out that was all a facade and a deflection and a smokescreen that kept anyone from seeing what the real problem was. What I know for sure now is that my needs were not the problem. My boundaries were not the problem. Once I saw through all the gaslighting and blame games and scapegoating and all the other things that were going on, the truth that I saw was both freeing and heartbreaking. Because once the mask slipped and I saw who the great and powerful Oz really was and who the man or the woman behind the curtain was that was pulling all the levers, I couldn't unsee it. My entire life suddenly made sense, and it also broke my heart. It was both incredibly liberating and shattering in the same breath. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This wasn't just me causing problems. It was a pattern of dysfunction, control, manipulation, and unhealed trauma that ran deep. It didn't start with me. It didn't start when the big problem happened. That stuff had been playing out for years. And the problem wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that the one who is in control, that everybody revolves around, doesn't know how to deal with real problems. Which is why I became the problem instead of the jackhead who did jail time. I just wasn't willing to sweep it under the rug and pretend that it didn't happen. And since they didn't know what to do with that, they took it out on me. Hard lesson number 3 is that they mattered more to me than I mattered to them. This one hit hard. I had believed all the narratives. I believed that the relationships were real. I believed that they had a place for me, that they wanted me, that they even cared about me. I drank every bit of the Kool-Aid related to forever families, family relationships, and how close we were. And it turns out that was all part of the act. Or maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was wishful thinking on their part. Whatever it wasn't what played out, because the second that I had some needs, questions, or boundaries, all of a sudden, I was the problem. I was the rebel. I was the black sheep. I was the one causing waves. And I learned that I wasn't a person. I was a role. As long as I played my part and stayed in lockstep and never varied from it, and in my case, absorbed all the pain, all the trauma, all the bad things that were happening to everyone, even if it was killing me, then things were fine. But when it wasn't fine, and I said something about it, and everything crumbled, and I realized who was really pulling all the strings, the claws came out. They turned cold, vicious, and cruel, and I was discarded. I still love those people. I still miss them. I miss who I thought they were and who I thought we were. But they're not my people. People who actually love you, care about you, and want you in their life don't behave in that way. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what the excuse is. They just don't behave in that kind of a way. And so began the quest to find new people to surround myself with. They'll never be my family. They'll never replace them. But I am certainly grateful for the place that they have in my life. They make me laugh, they keep me on my toes, and they appreciate me for who I am. And that has helped everything that's happened feel a little less lonely and hurt just a tiny bit less. Hard lesson number 4 is that loving myself meant losing them. I didn't just lose the person I set boundaries around. As I said at the beginning of this video, I lost everyone. Siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, longtime family friends. They're all gone. When I learned to love myself, at least as much as I love them, I became public enemy number 1. And that's when I realized that what I'd experienced wasn't love. It was control. Maybe it was the best they could do. Maybe they thought it was love, but it's not. And when they could no longer control me, they set out to control how others saw me. They controlled what they believed, what they heard, and those stories change all the time. Whatever suits their needs at the time and makes them, in their eyes, look good, that's the version they tell. They're always going to be the hero. They're always going to be the victim, and I'm always going to be the problem. They thought they were so clever, accusing me of being the angry one, of not forgiving, and of blabbing all our stuff to everyone else. But here's the ironic part. I can always tell when someone has heard one of their stories, because all of a sudden they're skittish and they act very different around me. I no longer waste time even trying to defend myself against them, because I know I can't. I don't know what was said, and I know that if I do try to defend myself, I'll probably just play right into whatever they said. So now I just wish those people well, cut off the conversation, and know that they are not my people either. Painful as it has been to leave, I also know that the only way I could ever go back is to literally sell my soul. It would require me to abandon every piece of myself, every bit of who I am, all over again, and blindly rejoin the orbit and serve in my role as the scapegoat that accepts all the bad things. And even then, I still wouldn't be accepted. I still wouldn't be trusted. And they'd still try and run me out. There's a story of the bummer lamb out there. Every once in a while, a lamb is born that's rejected by its mother. It's too small and fragile to survive on its own, and it doesn't fit with the flock yet. So the shepherd brings that lamb into his home and nurtures it himself until it's strong enough to rejoin the flock. And ever after, whenever the shepherd comes out to the pasture and calls to the sheep, it's the bummer lambs who always run towards him first, because they're the ones who have felt his kindness, and they're the ones that know his voice. When things were so hard and so dark for me, and I found myself so desperately alone, I found peace and strength from the Good Shepherd. I felt his mercy. I felt his love. I felt his embrace. and I learned to more fully hear and recognize his voice. And because of that, I will never turn back. And I will forever and gratefully be his bummer lamb. Hard lesson number 5 is that some of it really was mine to fix. Not all of it was my fault, but I did have my own part to play. I made mistakes. I reacted in less than stellar ways when I was hurt. I didn't have great coping skills myself, and as a result, I participated in some of those unhealthy patterns. And the pain I carried often spilled out to other people. My healing journey has meant fixing some of that, unlearning some of that, and letting go of blame and choosing to grow, even when they didn't, and even when they mocked me for it. But here's the deal. You don't fix estrangement by fixing them. You don't fix it by waiting for them to make the first move. You fix it by fixing what's on your side of the fence. It starts with getting honest, with taking responsibility, with owning what's yours, and healing what's yours. It also starts by becoming somebody new, by learning new ways of doing and being that are healthier and create healthier relationships. Because even if they never change, you can, and that changes everything. If this is hitting home for you and you're wondering where you go from here, download my free guide, Reclaiming Your Peace After Estrangement. It's filled with powerful insights and real tips that can get you started right now, today. And you can find that linked down below in the description. A lot of people out there still think that estrangement will just fix itself with time, or that one emotional and heartfelt apology will suddenly bring everybody back together and make everybody happy again, just like it's always happened before. But that's not how it works, because every time things break, they break a little bit more, and there's going to be a point where things shatter. It's more like a shattered vase. Once it breaks, you've got two choices. You can either scoop it all up and throw it all away, or you can glue the pieces back together again. Which one you choose is determined by how much value that vase had to you. Relationships are the same way. Fixing them requires care, intention, and full family effort in order for them to heal. That's what I help people do. We're not doing all the fluff stuff. My approach focuses on healing the deeper roots, the patterns, beliefs, dynamics, not just the symptoms. Because if you want real peace, and not just a temporary reconnection or a quick fix that's eventually going to break again, you're going to have to be willing to do the work, even if they're not. In my next video right over here, I'm sharing 5 things that surprised me most about when estrangement came knocking at my door, what I never saw coming, and why they matter. So if you're ready to go deeper, hit the play button on that next video and we'll keep walking through this together.